Hello everybody, welcome back to my movie review series. Today we'll be discussing Source Code. Just finished watching it, got a couple more days on my free subscriptions to Showtime, because again I don't have constitutional rights. I'm begging somebody to have the decency to help me. My life is truly honestly fucking terrible. By the end of the summer I'm going to be completely fucked. And so I don't know what to do, my life is just ruined. So I'll do another movie review, why not? So, you know how we do it. I'll read you some logistics about the movie as presented by Google. For whatever reason, when I type in a movie on Google and then I go from cast to overview, it like switches languages. So I don't know why we're doing that. But overall impressions and grade. We'll do the plot synopsis and character development. Kind of wrote plot development and character synopsis, but it's plot synopsis and character development. And then any similar movies or major themes. So we have released in Source Code, released in 2011. It's a sci-fi / action flick. It is PG-13 rated, and it has a runtime of 1 hour and 33 minutes. And Google says it's fantastic, existential, and thrilling. It says, helicopter pilot Colter Stevens, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, is part of a top-secret military operation that enables him to experience the last few minutes of his life in the life of Sean Fentress, a man who died in a commuter train explosion. The purpose of Colter's mission is to learn the identity of the bomber and prevent a similar catastrophe. As Colter lives Sean's final moments, he becomes more certain that he can prevent the first tragedy from occurring, as long as he doesn't run out of time. Originally released on April 1st, 2011, directed by Duncan Jones, did $147 million at the box office. 70% liked it on Google, 92% liked it on Rotten Tomatoes, and 7.5 out of 10 on IMDb. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. I'd seen this one before. It's been a while ago. I had seen the full thing, but I didn't remember the details. So, again, pumping out some free content on Showtime as long as my free trial's running. But overall, again, I like the sci-fi genre just for, again, switching it up. This one has a little bit of broken physics in it, but it's broken physics in a way where it's believable, and I thought the idea was actually entertaining. I thought the plot moved along very well. Again, 1 hour and 30 minutes, I thought perfect run time for this one. I thought the characterizations was strong, I thought the romance was cute, and I thought the overall plot and just script was well done. So I'm going to give this an A-. I thought this was a good one. So I recommend this one. If you have not seen it and would like to, you're going to shut off the video because there will be spoiler alerts. So the movie opens up and you basically have Colter Stevens coming. You just had this Jake Gyllenhaal on the train. He wakes up and he's talking to this girl Christina. You're not sure the relationship between Christina and Sean, who's, again, Colter Stevens is now living Sean's life. And so you're not really sure the extent of which he knows Christina, but they're supposed to go get coffee. And the first time, the movie opens up and he's just kind of freaking out, like he's on a train. He's like, Christina's calling me Sean, my name's Captain Colonel Colter Stevens, or whatever his military rank was. And so he's doing that, but he's kind of just like jumping around this train trying to figure out what's going on. This lady spills coffee on someone's foot. The train conductor comes and asks him to punch his ticket. He sees a couple of the regulars on the train, and Christina's kind of like weirded out that he doesn't remember her. So that goes on for a little bit, and then the train blows up. And then Colter Stevens goes back, and he's kind of like in this, just like capsule, or just seems like a downed, or just like a capsule of some sort. And so he's kind of trying to figure out what's going on. And so then on the screen, he meets some other military woman, Colleen Goodwin. And he's kind of like trying to figure out, what's going on. And she's like, sequence these 4 playing cards to make sure you know that you're intact. I don't know, what was it, the Queen of Hearts, 9, 6, 2 or something? I don't know. But he has to sequence some cards to see if he's intact, just establish baseline vitals or whatever. And so you meet Colleen Goodwin. She is under the command of Dr. Rutledge, who was, I recognized him from Jeffrey Wright from the Hunger Games series. This one came out in 2011, and I think this was before the Hunger Games came out. I think the first Hunger Games was 2012. But regardless, she's under Dr. Rutledge. Colleen Goodwin's under Dr. Rutledge, and she keeps repeating, their base or their program name or whatever. But that's basically what happens. And so he's just kind of discombobulated. He's not sure what's going on. And they're like trying to just basically focus in on like, hey man, you have these 8 minutes, go in there, try to figure out what's going on with this bomb. And so the second time he goes back, again, he goes back quite a few times, but he goes back, reruns, the source code starts over, and he has the same 8 minutes to try to figure out who's going on in this, going on with this bomb. So he finds the bomb the second time in the, just like the ventilation shaft of the, above the bathroom on the train, and then it blows up again. So he makes some progress when he finds where the bomb is at, and then he gets some more clarity pretty quickly into the movie. He realizes something's up, and they're just like, he's like, give me some information, and Dr. Rutledge then explains that the premise of the movie is, severely injured people can like, again, relive the last 8 minutes of their lives, and the brain has some afterglow, like the light when you turn it off has some afterglow type of deal. So again, broken physics, but it's enough where it's like, that's not a multiverse. And so they say quantum mechanics and parabolic calculus, but it's just like, that's the underlying physical principle, which isn't true, isn't real, but isn't like super out there to not be believable, again, for an entertaining movie script. And so he figures out what's going on. Once he tells him that, he's pretty much like, I'm probably pretty injured. But they want to, again, they're just trying to not, the first or second time he comes back, after he goes through the source code, the train sequence, he's back in this box, and they're like explaining like this is all just in your imagination, but the consequences, if you can figure anything out, are very real, because we think there's an ongoing, there's going to be another attack. So basically that's the real premise of the movie is, they have some afterglow, they can connect brains, and he's going back, reliving the same 8 minutes to try to figure out who's doing what so they can prevent a future attack as well. And so he learns what's going on, so he goes back again. They tell him, there's a gun in this compartment. He goes back, tries to get the gun. The first time he tries to get the gun, he gets arrested and gets handcuffed, and it blows up. And he's like, yeah, thanks for that. That was a good idea. But basically, whatever he does in 8 minutes doesn't really matter. And so the second or third time he goes back and tries to save the Christina girl. And they explain to him, it's like, it doesn't matter, this is all just, you're just reliving a past memory, and so it doesn't really count, like, she's dead, she's not alive, blah, blah, blah. And so, he kind of learns what's going on. He keeps wanting to talk to his father, and so he goes back again, gets the gun this time, and, he shuffles through this dude's bag, because he's able to, like, take off his cell phone, which is a detonator switch on the bomb, and try to, like, call back the number once he thinks he's got the detonator off of there. Has he done like he said, he gets Christina off the bus in one of the scenes, and it still blows up, and she's dead. But this is a scene later, I believe. But he gets the gun this time without getting arrested, and holds this dude at gunpoint and realizes it's not him, and so he like jumps off the train to try to like follow this guy or to get after this guy, and then again, I'm mixing up some of the scenes, but one of the scenes is like one of the sequences of this 8-minute replay, which he does a bunch of times in the movie, is he gets off the bus and kind of like harasses this guy that he thinks it is, and he sees the train blow up anyway, and so it wasn't that guy, it wasn't the college kid. But then he goes back and pretty much probably, I would say about 50%, 60% through the movie, he actually finds the guy. His name is Derek Frost. And so basically what happens is another sequence where he gets the gun without getting arrested. He sees this dude, there's a college kid, a minor character and a college kid. And Derek Frost dropped his wallet. And Jake picks it up and follows him and realizes that he planted his wallet so people think he was there and he's dead. And he follows him back to this big white van where there's a bigger bomb in there, and Derek shows him the bomb. And then Christina also gets off the train to try to follow him and see where Coulter's going. And again, she's kind of like, at this point you realize the Christina-Sean relationship that Coulter's living is like, they either work colleagues or know each other somehow, but Christina's definitely interested in him, and they're kind of like on their first date type of thing, or working together but planning to go on their first date. And so one of the scenes he kisses her, which has some relevance later. There's a comedian on the bus called Max Denoff, another minor character with some lines. And so when he gets off the bus or the train, he follows Derek Frost, and he's able to get the license plate. And then Derek pulls out a gun and shoots Coulter, as well as Christina's followed them off the train and shoots Christina as well. And so Coulter's able to get the name of the perpetrator, the license plate of the bomb that's going to be planted. Again, it was modern day to 2011. It's in Chicago, and so the next bombing is going to be just a big bomb somewhere. I don't know. And so, but he finds that, he gets back, and he's like, in another minor scene, and there's just some back and forth, outside of the actual source code sequences, when he's running his 8 minutes on the train, where he's just trying to talk to Colleen Goodwin and Dr. Rutledge a little more. Like I said, he learns what's going on. He wants to talk to his father. I guess before he finds Derek Frost, there's another important scene where he calls, and he's on the 8-minute source code rerun. And he has this insignia he sees the badge of Colleen Goodwin, and he draws it, and he has Christina call and ask, because Christina knows Coulter as Sean, and in the opening scenes, he looks in the mirror and he looks like Sean to everybody else, but minor part of the plot development. But he's like, Christina, call and ask about my friend Coulter Stevens. He's in the Air Force. And so, and this is one of the earlier scenes, again, I'm jumping all over the place, but you learn that Christina's talking to Coulter. Coulter goes up and gets the phone of some old lady, and this is the scene where he's ruffling up some dude going through his stuff, and she's kind of off put that he just roughed up or went through this other guy's stuff. But he calls the Air Force base and tries to make connection between the timelines. And so regardless, Christina informs Sean that Coulter Stevens is dead. And so that's really when he learns that he's dead. And so, and this is pretty quickly early on in the movie, but he's like, let me finish my mission and then please just let me die. And so fast forward back to when he gets Derek Frost. After he comes back from there, he has all the information. He's able to give them the license plate, the name of the perpetrator, as well as the type of vehicle. And so they're able to stop the next bombing. Dr. Rutledge and all of the characters in the office are all excited. And Coulter is talking to Colleen Goodwin as one soldier to another. Again, not the same exact scene, but let me go back in this time, but this time shut me off, kill my actual physical body when it runs up, so we can't keep getting used. Because Dr. Rutledge wants to wipe his memory and just keep using him as much as they possibly can. And so, some decent, again, the tonality of the movie I thought was well done. The characterizations was strong, but a good kind of moral dilemma of you don't really see him to the very end, but he's severely wounded in this little tube thing or little capsule. And so it's some decent, just consideration of, save more people or let somebody who's already served pass away with their accomplishments or with their service. And so I thought that was decent, just interesting juxtaposition of morality. But regardless, Colleen Goodwin decides that she is going to terminate, let him die. And so she sends him back into the source code, and in that time frame, in that one, Coulter gives Max Denoff $126 to do some stand-up comedy, make the people on the train laugh. Again, Coulter has this perception or perspective of life where it's very attractive to Christina. And so he's talking to Christina, I gotta go save the world. And then he calls his dad, he's the Sean character, but he calls his dad and has some closure there. And so, because I guess they had a strained relationship. And then after that, he asked Christina, what would you do if you have a couple seconds left to live? And she's like, I'd make those seconds count. And he's like, I'm gonna kiss you again. And she's like, again. And then so they have a nice big smooch. And then the time kind of stops, and then it keeps going, and they live. And so this is after, in their timeline, Coulter has already, de-armed the bomb and took the handcuffs off the he's Sean Fentress is a teacher in the character, but he takes the handcuffs off of like the train security and handcuffs the guy to a pole, and defuses the bomb and calls the police on himself. Coulter's calling as Derek, be like, "Hey, I'm a big piece of shit. There's a bomb in this vehicle over here," and so that's what happens. And then time resumes, and then Coulter and Christina, they're in Chicago. They go to the Big Bean, and they're just kind of walking around the city and enjoying their day. But back in the real world, Colleen Goodwin is in the little room where his capsule, his body is being kept alive, and she clicks terminate or let him die, like stop life support, as Dr. Rutledge and the rest of the security are urgently trying to get in there. And so at which point you see that again, he's like severely wounded. It's just like a torso, some spine, half of an arm, and a head. And so interesting development there. And then the overall resolution to the movie is Coulter emails Colleen Goodwin, and so kind of like the end thing is the source code works so well because they go in there. The very end of the resolution end scene is Colleen Goodwin goes into Dr. Rutledge, receives this email, while Dr. Rutledge is kind of like frustrated or saying, maybe one day the source code will work. And the email sent from Coulter to Colleen was like, the source code works so well, because when he's running through the sequences, he's like, this I have to be able to save these people in whatever timeline this is. And so he emailed, Colleen Goodwin gets an email from Coulter Stevens basically saying like, Colleen, if you get this email, the source code works better than you can imagine. It is able to stop these crimes so much so that you don't think they even happen. And so that's kind of the end resolution. I think it could have been a little stronger if they just kept it as is without the final scene and just, I thought the concept of, just keeping a soldier alive, pairing it with some other experience, and then rerunning a timeline was pretty interesting. And so having it to be like, it works so well at the end where they don't even know what happened, I thought it could have been a little stronger just without that complete resolution. But overall, for the runtime type of movie, characterization and plot development, I thought it was well done. And so I gave it an A-. In similar movies, there's one with Denzel Washington where they're able to have some 8 minutes or 10 minutes or rewind something and go through something and solve a crime, which is very similar, and I enjoyed that movie as well. Can't remember what it's called. And the major themes, some morality of just because I thought it was a good juxtaposition of here's a soldier that served, he's severely injured, he's not really under any physical stress. Does he keep serving or do we just let him pass away? So that was good for the major theme, just something kind of novel or something different. But that is the end of that. So thank you for watching my review of Source Code, and I will see you on the next one.